This story is a testimony of a young man's life. In a cruel world where injustice is rampant, to satisfy desires, and human feelings are crushed in fleeting moments, how does Zack, a soldier of Shinra, persevere, and how did he live his life? The role that Zack played for the stars and the seeds of hope he planted would eventually save the future of the planet. A young soldier who fought on the basis of his dream of becoming a hero, a dream too pure and innocent to be called ambition. The question is, will he be able to resist his harsh destiny and fulfill his hopes? Introduction. The Mako city slumbers for a moment. The city glimmers in the darkness of the earth. The muddled metropolis, sucking up the energy of the stars and fending off the night, is the city of Mako. In a city that never sleeps and promises prosperity, a radio broadcast announces a state of emergency. At the center of the tension is a Shinra train speeding through a city block under construction. Above it, the shadow of a combat helicopter continues its pursuit. The train is occupied by soldiers from the hostile nation of Wutai. A young man leans out of the helicopter and smiles wryly as he is told that an operation to retake the train has been launched. The Shinra forces are only one man, Zack, a soldier whose superhuman abilities have been drawn out of him by Shinra's scientific power. Jumping from the helicopter, flying at high speed, Zack casually lands on a train as he is greeted by a rough hail of gunfire. He runs across the roof like a gust of wind, sword in hand, knocking out one enemy after another. The train is quickly overtaken. He follows orders and moves the battlefield to the 8th Avenue Fountain Square. Even the raging behemoth is no match for the fighting spirit of Zack. However, Zack is astonished by the appearance of the next enemy. The one approaching him with blade drawn is the strongest soldier of all, the hero Sephiroth, whom he has set his sights on. His sword is broken in the face of the overwhelming difference in strength, and Zack finds himself in a desperate predicament. Then the training is abruptly terminated. The scenario was a fictional world, faithfully reproduced by a virtual system in the training room. However, the power shown there is no exaggeration. The decision to cancel the training was based on the news that came in. There's been a strange disappearance of a large number of soldiers deployed in Wutai. The incident eventually developed into an upheaval that rocked Midgar and the world. The young soldier has no way of knowing that he is destined to be at the center of it all. Chapter 1. Dreaming Endlessly. Zack has a big dream. The Shinra Company is a large corporation that makes people's lives better by extracting the Mako from the stars and providing a stable supply of it. The discovery of the miraculous phenomenon brought about an energy revolution that would transform the world in a few decades. Many people who would have lost their lives to poverty and poor living conditions are now living happily without fear of the darkness of night. Zack recognizes this. His dream path led him to Shinra. He left his hometown of Gongaga, where one of the makings of a reactor stands, and came to Midgar, home of Shinra's headquarters. He applied to be one of the candidates for Shinra's prestigious soldier program and is now one of the second-class soldiers, with an eye of being first. However, Zack was sent on a mission to end the long-running war with Wutai, and what he found was a group of people who resented the rule of Shinra and were willing to fight for the pride of their country. The same soldiers, with different beliefs and affiliations, were fighting for the righteousness of their country. Zack's heart is shaken as he struggles with the question of whether he is right or wrong. Even so, he was able to stay the path he had chosen because he had a dream, the unclouded longing of a young boy to be called a hero someday. Above all else, he had men to aim for. Sephiroth, the legendary soldier who had already earned the name of a hero, and Angeal, his friend, comrade in arms, and mentor like a big brother. Zack chose to be a soldier with them. Yes, the path has been chosen, and the fate, which has begun to twist, is no longer the same. Zack was destined to face it and continue to fight. This is the first step toward an unchanging end. Chapter 2. A Divided World. In search of clues about Genesis, the first-class soldier who rebelled against Shinra and disappeared, Zack and Turks member Sang are dispatched to Genesis' hometown. The farming village of Benora was also the place where Angeal, who had disappeared from Wutai, was born and raised. Zack is puzzled to learn that Genesis, who is leading a dangerous rebel group, and Angeal, a respected friend, have an older and stronger connection than he had imagined. As he investigates the seemingly peaceful but all too quiet village, more turmoil strikes him. The village and its few living inhabitants had been overrun by Genesis copies and state-of-the-art weaponry. Zack is horrified at the inhumanity of Genesis, who has taken the lives of his own parents. He is sure that Angeal would not have been involved in such an act. However, after a chance encounter with Genesis and a reunion with Angeal, Zack discovers that Angeal's mother, the only survivor of the village, is dead. Zack's heart is shaken as he sees Angeal standing beside the body. Has he really changed? Is their world now divided into irreconcilable differences? As if to add to the blow, Shinra's upper echelons issue a cold-hearted directive. To cover up the scandal caused by the ex-soldiers, the village was thoroughly bombed and burned to the ground without a trace. As Zack gazes at the local specialty, Benora White, being consumed by the flames and reduced to ashes, his heart is filled with a sense of helplessness. Or is it the sadness of having been involved in this battle without justice? Zack already has both feet caught in the Ivy of Doom, a chain of tragedies that have yet to be fully revealed. Chapter 3. What Wings Bring to a People. Zack ascends the stairs to his dream. He was finally selected as a soldier first class. The organization called Shinra recognized him qualified to be a hero like Sephiroth. But Zack was not pleased. The fact that Shinra was short of personnel with a large number of soldiers taken away by Genesis is no doubt behind this promotion. And most of all, the fact that Angeal, who had guided him to become a first, was not there. He is still unsure of the true reason why Angeal left Shinra, which leaves him depressed. At the same time, the Genesis army, with the help of a former Shinra scientist Hollander, increases its power and launches an offensive against Midgar and Shinra's headquarters. In the midst of the chaos, two first-class soldiers, Zack and Sephiroth, become the core of the counter-offensive and gradually build up their trust by cooperating with each other. Sephiroth, the lone hero, even reveals his secret heart. It's as if to illuminate the irony of the determined future with a stronger contrast. After an encounter with a female member of the Turks, Cisne, during a siege in the city, Zack enters the Mako reactor. There he sees the product of Hollander's insane research. Like the Genesis copies, the monster was born from the ability to transmit cellular information. The face on the deformed figure was unmistakably that of Angeal. The white, one-winged Angeal stands in front of Zack, who is chasing after Hollander. Angeal laments that he has become a monster and drops Zack from the plate. The abyss that opened up at his feet suggests a bottomless space hidden in the soldier's superhuman body. Chapter 4. Blue Sky in the Eyes. The girl said she was afraid of the sky. She said that when she looks up at the sky, which stretches to a sea of stars in the distance, she feels as if she might be sucked in. That is why she is willing to live in a poor slum with a plate ceiling. It's not normal, it's weird, the girl said, looking sad and depressed. Normal is boring, Zack replied. I don't know if he really thought so or not. He had already been involved in enough unusual incidents, but Zack wanted to comfort her. He wanted to soothe the loneliness hidden behind the brightness of the unusual girl's sudden appearance. The girl who took care of Zack when he fell from a plate into the church in the slums, her name was Aerith. The encounter between Zack and her, whose gestures and expressions still retain their innocence, was like a mirror image of another encounter that occurred several years later in this land of blooming flowers. Yes, the encounter has great significance. Zack promises to show Aerith the beautiful sky that she doesn't have to be afraid of, and he suggests that she sell the flowers she grew in Upper Midgar. Aerith responds and projects her sky into the soldier's blue eyes. They are too young to call it love, but it is a feeling of mutual attraction, a feeling akin to friendship. It was a seed that sprouts a faint hope for a future they can't even imagine, an encounter that will lead to a battle to save the stars beyond the destined tragedy. Soon after, Zack returns to the upper levels of the city. He bids farewell to his brief respite to fulfill the duties of a man with the power of soldier, to save the citizens threatened by Genesis, and to respond to the call of Angeal, whom he believes in. Chapter 5. The Will Passed Down from Generation to Generation. Following in the footsteps of Genesis and Hollander, Zack heads for the frigid land of Modeaheim. Zack has another important encounter. He and the young man, who was only an infantryman of Shinra, could have parted ways without ever having crossed paths in any depth. However, when their helicopter was shot down and they were thrown out into the snowy Modeo Valley, they were almost stranded. The situation brings them closer together. The only thing they had in common was that they were from small villages in the middle of nowhere. This infantryman is destined to be at the center of a story that follows. Cloud Strife aspires to be a soldier, but lacks the aptitude for it. The young man's dreams were dashed, and a strange fate befell him like a raging wave. More than once, he is plunged into the abyss of despair. How is that? But now is not the time to tell the story. Zack and Cloud know nothing. Unaware of what they are up against, they grow closer and more trusting in the course of their mission. For Zack, it's a friendship that will lead to a cruel future. It's as if this encounter foreshadows yet another that awaits in Modeaheim. In order for Zack to become a hero, he must overcome a great ordeal. Through this ordeal, Zack becomes the first-class hero he has truly aspired to be, a warrior capable of following in Angeal's footsteps, a man innocent as a puppy to a man of valor with an indomitable fighting spirit. Chapter 6. Qualities of a Hero. Zack's mind was wavering. He still held on to his dream of becoming a hero. He believed that if he fought enough battles as a soldier, he would one day be called such. But soldiers cannot choose to fight of their own volition. Soldiers are those who leave judgment to the organization and perform their duties as pawns. To be proud of their position, they must believe in the righteousness of Shinra. The forces that supply the world with energy and bring happiness to as many people as possible are the forces that will be the pillars of the war. This unwavering righteousness that is the core of Shinra. His belief was being shaken from its foundation. Zack had seen too much scandal, too much justice on the part of the hostile Wutai. The Shinra cover-up, where secrets are buried in the dark, even if it means burning down the village to the ground. The fact is that the human experimentation on Genesis and Angeal was clearly unethical. Far from Zack's idea of justice, Shinra was hiding their reality. Even so, he did not lose his pride. The reason he was able to maintain his pride was because he always had the Buster Sword by his side, which was entrusted to him by his friend. However, Shinra is now trying to even drive the sacrifice of Angeal into oblivion. With the Turks watching over him, he has lost sight of who he is supposed to be fighting for. Ironically, it was a surprise attack by Genesis's army that brought Zack back to his feet. In the midst of the deadly battle against the Genesis copies who attacked Junon indiscriminately and tried to free Hollander, Zack regains his motivation to fight. I want to protect the happiness of people and to save those who are subjected to unreasonable violence. This is the core desire of Zack, who aspires to be a hero. That is why he remains a soldier. Even if this was the turning point in his destiny, Zack would have no regrets. A man who is to be a hero, armed only with his pride and dreams, will go forward. Chapter 7. The Promise is Still Underway. A brief moment of peace in Midgar. Zack tries to fulfill his promise to Aerith, a girl who is frightened that she might be sucked up into the sky, to show her the splendor of the unshrouded azure sky. To ease Aerith's fears, he suggested that he go with her to sell the flowers and fill the city, where plants and trees never grow. As a first step, Zack builds Aerith's wagon, which would be adorned with blooming flowers. The slum dwellers, who do not take kindly to Shinra's abandonment of the weak, offer to help Zack gather materials. Even if they don't know everything about how he lives and what he fights for, they sense that this young man Zack is a beloved and believable friend. That's how Zack completed his rugged wagon. Only, there's still a little time left before he heads out on a mission. He could make a better wagon to please Aerith even more. Well, he could save that for another time. No, he can't choose. If he misses that chance now, it will never happen again. Because the name of the place Zack is headed for on his new assignment is Nibelheim. Yes, Nibelheim. If he had the eyes to see his destiny, he would not have missed this moment. Even if he can't fulfill all of his promises, Zack could run around Midgar a little longer to see at least one more smile on the girl's face. He must. To say a final goodbye to the city he tried to protect, the city that became his second home. To remember the days he spent here. Chapter 8. The Frozen Land of Time. At last Zack came to it, Nibelheim, the cursed place where his life would be forever ruined. More precisely, his destiny was already sealed when he set out to become a soldier of Shinra and succeeded. But on this day, if he had not taken on this mission, if the Shinra High Command had not considered the investigation of the Mount Nebel reactor to be of the utmost importance, if they had not thought to send the two firsts, Sephiroth and Zack, to investigate the reactor, then Zack's life would not have played out so violently. No one could have foreseen the tragedy that was about to befall this remote village. Not only Zack and Cloud, but all of Nibelheim's inhabitants, including the young girl Tifa and even Sephiroth, who is at the center of the incident, will be at the mercy of the evil act of cruel fate. After meeting Genesis at the Mount Nebel reactor, who was thought to be dead, Sephiroth begins to doubt his own birth. What is a soldier? And who are the most special of them? Genesis and Angeal are the first of the three outstanding soldiers first class, and all except for him are Project G. Their deteriorated bodies have taken on deformed characteristics similar to those of monsters. How was Sephiroth, the hero and the most powerful soldier of all time, born? What was the end of the plan to create him? Even the answers to these questions were to be found in this village. The old mansion, known as the Shinra Mansion, has secretly served as the center of a horrifying scheme for decades. Sephiroth's suspicions and shudders swell, and are played out here, spewing flames and burning hatred. And the scourge of Nibelheim begins. Everyone struggles in the fire, and the few survivors are also swallowed up by the endless madness and malice. Cloud's long nightmare begins. For Zack, the countdown to the end is on. Chapter 9. Escape from the Dream. When Zack awoke from his long sleep, the world around him had changed completely. To be precise, it was not the surroundings that had changed. Rather, his position in relation to the world had changed since his last broken memory. Zack had been reduced from being one of the few elite among the soldier first class, the trump card of the Shinra Company, to a status deprived of all rights and freedoms for insane research. He and Cloud were taken to be experimented on, where they were subjected to a nightmare they could not wake up from. They are neither guilty nor at fault. Rather, they were both in a position of merit. You know what? They had successfully defeated the former hero Sephiroth, who, obsessed with hatred, burned Nibelheim to the ground, abandoned Shinra, and became an enemy of all humankind. They should have been thanked and did not deserve to be treated unjustly like this. However, this was the essence of Shinra to which they belonged, a huge organization that suppresses nations, the embodiment of lawlessness and violence that easily takes people's lives and conceals them when it is convenient. This time, the brunt of it was directed at the two young people who had served Shinra. Instinctively understanding the situation, Zack awakens and tries to escape. And with taking Cloud, who has already become his close friend, it was to be a grueling journey, albeit aimless. Cloud had been subjected to a high concentration of Mako, and without the aptitude of a soldier, had fallen into a severe case of Mako poisoning, rendering him unable to talk or walk. With the Turks and other Shinra pursuers approaching, the choice to escape with Cloud who couldn't move on his own was too difficult. Even so, Zack would never abandon his friend. As a matter of course, he takes on a heavy burden. The oaths he swore to his late friend Angeal had made the young soldier into a man worthy of being a hero. Even at the cost of his own life, Zack will carry on with his pride, the only path that leads to your dreams. Chapter 10. A New Lineage of Heroes. The hero Sephiroth turned his back on the cruel world and left for a land beyond human reach. Genesis, who wished to be a hero, despaired of degradation and turned against Shinra, who had continued to deceive him. Angeal, facing the same degradation and deception as Genesis, still desired to take the pain out of the world. He fought with his pride and eliminated himself as an entity that would bring suffering to the world. The age that Shinra tried to create, the special soldiers born from the Genova Project had all withdrew from their status as heroes, fell, and disappeared, as if to trace the end of an epic era. Those who are left behind are destined to live in a world without salvation. There is no one left to protect them anymore. Those who could have led the world, even if they were invented heroes, have stepped off the stage. What awaits is a time of chaos, a world of suffering where pain erodes people and sorrow covers the stars. But have hope. There are those who stand up with courage in an era without heroes. Betrayed by the world he believed in, locked by unimaginable hardships, Zack tries to fight through, according to his pride and belief, without receiving any reward for accomplishing it. You don't have to be known to anyone. There is no need to be praised. You can decide for yourself whether you are able to become what you aim for. He was. He had achieved the qualities of a hero. He had learned everything he needed to learn from his friend and mentor Angeal. Everything he had learned had brought him one step closer to achieving what he thought he could never achieve, the end of an endless dream that never seemed to come true, and it would be passed on to the future. Thoughts are entrusted and the baton is handed over as a living testament of Zack's life to the young warrior, a strong and gentle wolf who is yet to awaken.